Hey, welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, you picked a hell of a story to start with. Now, before we get into this, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. And if you've ever had a weird, unexplainable encounter, something that made your skin crawl, drop it in the comments. I want to know if I'm the only one. Because after what I've seen, I don't think I am. This isn't one of those made-up campfire stories. This isn't something I read on the internet and decided to repeat for clicks. This happened. To me. And the only reason I'm still here to talk about it is because I was trained for war. But even with all my training, all my experience, nothing in my past prepared me for what I encountered. Nothing prepared me for it. You see, I used to be a soldier, not just any soldier, special forces. I spent years in the most dangerous places on Earth, hunting men who didn't want to be found. I was trained to survive, to kill, to never let fear control me. And for a long time, I thought fear was something I'd conquered. Then I came home. I thought I'd left the worst of it behind when I retired. Thought I could disappear into the quiet life, away from the bloodshed and the nightmares. I bought a cabin deep in the Appalachian woods, a place so isolated that my nearest neighbor was 15 miles away. Out there, I figured, I could finally be free. But I wasn't alone. Something else was out there. Something old. Something hungry. At first, I told myself it was my imagination, a lingering symptom of the war. I'd spent too many years jumping at shadows, expecting an ambush behind every corner. So when I first noticed the silence, I brushed it off. The woods are supposed to be loud. Birds, bugs, wind through the trees. But some nights, I'd step outside, and it would be dead quiet. Not a single sound. Like the whole forest was holding its breath. And then, the scratching started. It began as a faint noise like tree branches against the side of the cabin. But there was no wind, no reason for it. Then I heard it outside my window. Slow, deliberate, a claw against glass. I remember gripping my rifle so tight my knuckles turned white. I told myself it was a raccoon, a coyote, a bear. But deep down I knew this was something else. And that was just the beginning. So sit tight, because this one's going to keep you up tonight. The walls were cracked, the air thick with dust, and the silence, it felt suffocating. I had just finished my first deployment, a 6-month stint in a place so hot and dry my skin peeled like old wallpaper. The kind of place where the air smelled like gunpowder and burned flesh, where sleep was a luxury and fear was a constant. But coming home, that felt even worse. I grew up in a small town in the Appalachian foothills, the kind of place where everyone knew your name, but nobody knew your demons. My old man was a hard bastard, the kind that believed a firm hand and a stiff drink solved everything. My mom? She left when I was 5. I don't remember her much, just the way she smelled, lavender and something faintly metallic, like old coins. By the time I was 16, I knew 2 things: how to fight and how to disappear. The military was an escape, a way out of a town that had nothing but dead-end jobs and bad memories. And for a while, it worked. Until I came back. The house sat on the edge of the woods, miles from anything worth mentioning. It had been in my family for generations, passed down from men who didn't ask questions and didn't take kindly to outsiders. When my father died, it became mine. I didn't want it, but I had nowhere else to go. The first thing I noticed when I walked inside was the smell. Something damp, like rotting wood after a heavy rain. But beneath that, something else. Something sour, metallic. Blood. I checked every room, every dark corner. Nothing. Just dust-covered furniture and the echo of footsteps that weren't mine. I chalked it up to old memories, the kind that sneak up on you in places you swore you left behind. But then the nights came. And the silence. It wasn't just silence anymore. It was waiting. The thing about being alone in the woods, it changes you. At first, it feels peaceful. The quiet wraps around you like a heavy blanket, muffling the rest of the world. No car horns, no voices, just the wind in the trees and the distant call of an owl. But after a while, the quiet stops feeling like solitude and starts feeling like something else. At night, I'd sit on the porch, rifle across my lap, listening. Always listening. The old-timers in town used to say the woods had their own language, that if you paid close enough attention, you'd hear them talking. I never believed in that kind of thing, until I heard it for myself. It started small, a branch snapping where no branch should have fallen, a rustling in the underbrush, too heavy to be a deer, too deliberate to be the wind. Then came the whispers. Not words, not really. Just the faintest sound of something moving where nothing should be. The first time I saw the tracks, I told myself they belonged to a bear. They were too big for a wolf, too deep, like whatever made them walked with intent. I followed them for a mile before they just stopped. No fading, no scattered prints. One step, then nothing. Like whatever made them had just vanished. That night, I locked the doors. That was the first time I felt it. The weight of something unseen pressing against the walls of my home. Watching, waiting. And that was just the beginning. There's something wrong with these woods. I knew it the moment I set foot on the porch that night. The air was thick, heavy with humidity, but the usual hum of insects and rustling leaves was gone. No crickets, no cicadas, not even the hoot of an owl. It wasn't just silence. It was a vacuum, like the land itself was holding its breath. I'd spent years in war zones, places where every quiet second meant an ambush was coming. My instincts were screaming at me to get inside, to lock the doors, to run. But run from what? That was the question, wasn't it? I took a slow step off the porch, my boots crunching against the gravel path. The trees loomed in front of me, black against the night sky. I stared into the darkness, straining to see movement. And then I heard it. A low exhale. Not the wind, not an animal. Something big. Something watching. I raised my rifle, my finger hovering over the trigger. But there was nothing. Just the woods. Just the silence. Then a sound, soft at first. A scraping noise like claws dragging against wood. From behind me, I spun around so fast I nearly tripped over myself. My eyes snapped to the side of the house, to the window by my bedroom. The glass was fogged over, like something had been breathing against it. I rushed inside, locking the door behind me. My heart slammed against my ribs as I swept the room with my rifle, but there was nothing there. Just my reflection staring back at me from the darkened glass. And then, The condensation on the window began to fade, like something had just stepped away. The next day, I drove into town. I needed supplies, but more than that, I needed answers. I stopped by the general store, the kind of place that sold everything from canned beans to hunting rifles. The old man behind the counter, Tom Hensley, had been running the place since I was a kid. He was the kind of guy who'd lived through too much to scare easy. But when I mentioned the woods, his expression changed. "You been out there at night?" he asked, voice low. I nodded. "Yeah. Why?" He glanced toward the door, as if making sure we were alone. "You see anything?" I hesitated. Tracks. Too big for a wolf. Too deep. And something else. Something watching. Tom's face paled. He leaned in, lowering his voice even more. "Listen to me, son. You keep your doors locked. You keep your lights on. And for the love of God, don't go outside after dark." I frowned. "What is it?" Tom exhaled slowly. "My daddy used to tell me stories. Said there's something in those woods. Something old. The kind of thing that don't leave tracks unless it wants to." I felt a chill creep up my spine. "You ever seen it?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached beneath the counter, pulled out a small leather bag, and slid it toward me. Inside was a handful of rusted nails and dried herbs, tied together with twine. "Put this above your door," he said. I stared at him. "You serious?" "As a heart attack." I almost laughed, but something about his face, something about the way his hands shook just slightly, made me take the bag. "I don't believe in that kind of thing," I muttered. Tom's eyes met mine, cold and unwavering. "Don't matter," he said. "It believes in you." I got back to the house just before sunset. I should have left, should have packed my bags and never looked back. But something kept me there. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was stupidity. Maybe it was something else. As the sun dipped behind the trees, I nailed the bag of herbs and rusted metal above the door. I didn't believe in superstitions, but that night, I didn't hear the scratching. Didn't hear the breathing at my window. For the first time in weeks, I slept. And then I woke up. Not because of a noise, because of the silence and the smell of something rotting just outside my door. Something had been here, and whatever it was getting closer. I woke up to the sound of something breathing right outside my bedroom window. Not the wind, not an animal, something else. My pulse slammed against my ribs as I reached for the rifle beside my bed, moving as silently as possible. The air inside the house felt wrong, thick, like walking through a fog that clung to my skin. I could smell it now. Rot. Like meat left out in the sun for days. A low creak came from the porch. Slow, deliberate. Something was out there. Something big. I swallowed hard, stepping toward the window, rifle raised. My fingers trembled against the stock as I peeked through the edge of the curtain, and I saw it. The first thing that hit me was the size. 7 feet tall, maybe more. A hulking, broad-shouldered mass of matted fur and rippling muscle. Its limbs were too long, its fingers tipped with curved, blackened claws. The face, God help me, the face, was something between a wolf and a nightmare. Amber eyes burned from deep-set sockets, glowing like molten metal in the dark. Its snout was elongated, lips curled back to reveal jagged, yellowed fangs. A deep, guttural growl rumbled from its chest, vibrating through the glass. And then it stood up. Not on all fours, not like a normal animal. It rose onto its hind legs, slow and unnatural, like something that wasn't meant to move that way. My breath hitched. I took a step back, heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst. Then, scratch. Long, deliberate. Claws dragging across the wood of my porch. It knew I was inside. And it was waiting. I backed away from the window, keeping my rifle raised, my body screaming to run. But where? The nearest neighbor was miles away, and my truck was parked too far from the house. I had two choices. Stay inside, pray the thing lost interest, or make a run for it. Neither option felt good. The front door groaned against its hinges. A low, rattling huff came from the other side, like the thing was sniffing at the wood. I couldn't stay here. I made my decision in an instant. Grabbing my keys, I darted toward the back door, moving as fast and quiet as I could. The second I turned the knob, bang! The front door shook. A heavy, brutal impact. I didn't wait for another. I threw open the door and ran. The night air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The distant hum of insects had returned, but it didn't make me feel safer. Not with that thing behind me. I could hear it moving. Fast. Too fast. Branches snapped like brittle bones. Leaves rustled in violent bursts. Whatever it wasn't just chasing me. It was playing with me. I stumbled through the underbrush, heart pounding. The truck was ahead, 20 yards, maybe less. If I could just make it inside. A deep, shuddering growl rumbled to my right. I skidded to a stop, breath catching in my throat. It was closer. I turned, rifle raised. The darkness was too thick, the trees casting shadows that twisted and moved. Then, a pair of glowing amber eyes blinked open in the black. My stomach dropped. It was right there. I barely had time to react before it lunged. I fired. The shot rang out like thunder, the muzzle flash lighting up the trees for a split second. The creature moved. Fast. Too fast. It hit me like a truck, knocking the rifle from my hands. I hit the ground hard, pain exploding through my ribs. Claws raked across my arm, burning like fire. I kicked out wildly, scrambling backward. The creature loomed over me, its breath hot and rancid, lips curling back into something almost like a grin. It wanted me to run. It was enjoying this. I wasn't going to give it the satisfaction. With a desperate yell, I grabbed a rock from the dirt and slammed it into the creature's face. It let out a snarl, more angry than hurt, but it was enough. I scrambled to my feet and bolted. The truck was so close now. 5 yards. 3. 2. I threw myself inside, slamming the door shut just as something huge hit the side of the vehicle. The whole truck shook. Claws scraped against metal. I fumbled for the keys, hands shaking, adrenaline making my vision tunnel. The engine roared to life just as the passenger window exploded inward. A massive clawed hand reached inside. I jammed the truck into reverse, slamming the gas pedal. Tires screeched against the dirt as I peeled backward, the creature's arm still inside, swiping wildly. Then, it let go. I hit the brakes, breathing hard. The creature stood in the headlights now, watching me with those burning amber eyes. It didn't chase me. It didn't move. It just stood there, like it was letting me go, like it wanted me to remember. I didn't stick around to find out why. I floored the gas, the truck fishtailing as I sped away, and in the rearview mirror, I saw it, still standing there, still watching. And as I turned the corner, it smiled. I didn't stop driving, didn't check my mirrors, didn't even breathe right until I hit the main road, tires screeching as I swerved onto the pavement. The forest disappeared behind me, swallowed by the night, but it didn't feel far enough. My hands were slick with sweat, my fingers aching from how tight I gripped the wheel. My arm burned where its claws had raked me. It should have been over. I should have felt safe now. But I didn't. Because in the distance, just on the edge of the tree line, I saw them. Eyes. Burning amber, not just one pair. More. Watching. Waiting. My stomach turned to ice. I stepped harder on the gas, the truck's engine growling as I pushed it past 80, then 90, the world outside blurring into darkness. I didn't stop until I hit town. I parked outside an all-night diner, hands still trembling as I shut off the engine. The lot was mostly empty, just a few truckers grabbing late-night coffee. The neon sign buzzed overhead, the warm glow spilling onto the cracked pavement. Normalcy. For the first time in hours, I felt like I was back in the real world. I sat there for a long time, staring at my reflection in the windshield. My face was pale, my eyes sunken. I looked like I'd seen a ghost, number something worse. My mind screamed at me to do something, call someone, go to the police. But what the hell would I say? Hey, there's a pack of werewolf-looking monsters stalking the woods outside my cabin. They'd think I was crazy. Hell, I felt crazy. I exhaled shakily and glanced down at my arm. The scratches were deep but not fatal. Just enough to bleed. Just enough to mark me. A fresh wave of nausea rolled over me. Had it done that on purpose? Had it let me go? The thought chilled me more than the encounter itself. I grabbed my phone, hesitating before opening my messages. There was only one person I could think to text. Me. Hey, you ever hear stories about something living in the woods? 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Then, Tyler. You saw it, didn't you? I felt my stomach drop. I met Tyler outside an old bar just off the main road. He was already waiting when I pulled up, leaning against his truck with a cigarette hanging from his lips. His face was pale under the streetlights, his expression grim. You look like shit, he muttered. Yeah, well, I feel worse. He exhaled a slow breath, flicking his cigarette into the gravel. Tell me everything. So I did. I told him about the eyes in the woods, the smell, the thing that stood on my porch, the way it chased me, played with me like I was nothing more than prey. And then I told him about the others, the ones I saw watching from the trees. Tyler didn't say anything for a long time. He just stared at the ground, jaw clenched tight. Finally, he sighed. You're lucky. Lucky? I laughed bitterly. I don't feel lucky. You are. He met my eyes, and there was something dark in his expression. You got away. Not everyone does. A cold knot formed in my stomach. You've seen them before. It wasn't a question. Tyler nodded, rubbing a hand over his face. Yeah, once. Years ago. His voice was quiet, haunted. They don't always kill. Sometimes they just watch. Sometimes they wait. I swallowed hard. For what? Tyler didn't answer. Didn't need to. I already knew. For the first time since I'd left that cabin, I felt truly afraid. Because this wasn't over. It was never over. And somehow, I knew. They weren't done with me. I haven't gone back to the cabin. Haven't even been near those woods. I told myself I'd sell the place. Leave it behind like a bad dream. But every time I pick up the phone, something stops me. Like a voice in the back of my head whispering, "Not yet." Some nights, when the world is quiet, I swear I still hear it. That low, guttural growl. Not outside, not in the distance. Closer, like it's just beyond the door, like it's waiting. And I don't know if I'll ever be free. And that's my story. But tell me, have you ever felt like something was watching you? Like something wasn't quite right in the dark? If you have, maybe, just maybe, you weren't alone. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I've got more terrifying tales coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Stay safe out there. And whatever you do, don't go into the woods alone.